first town I visited is San Ildefonso, Bulacan. That's town number 1. And I visited because I was really curious on what to see in the interior towns of Bulacan. Traveling up north when I was a child, we would always pass through NLEX. I had no idea what to see in the interior towns of San Miguel or the other towns in Pampanga. We just passed through them. And the first year of my goal was to see most of the towns along the NLEX area. My initial idea in traveling around the country was just visiting all the towns in Luzon, all 771. And then I thought maybe someone from the Visayas could complete the other complete towns of the Visayas, and maybe somebody else could do the ones in Mindanao. But nobody has ever done that before. So that initiated my idea of completing all the towns and cities. By the first year, by the end of 2014, I visited most of the towns and cities in Luzon, except for the really remote ones. I'm actually down to half of my manuscript, writing my travels around the country, and it's I'm really excited how it's gonna turn out, because it's a challenge for me. How am I gonna write it alphabetically, chronologically? I mean, how can you write 10 years of my experience in just in one book? Hopefully I get to finish this in 2025, but I still have to visit 8 more towns. These are new towns in the Special Geographic Area, which voted to join the BARM a couple of years ago. There are 8 new towns. I have to visit that, so my 1634 goal has to be updated. I'm waiting for the elections to finish. After the elections, because when I was traveling, I do not consider myself having visited one town if I haven't seen the municipio or city hall. I have to have that photograph of the municipio, but I only started taking selfies in 2016. From my travels from 2013 to 15, I didn't take selfies. I wasn't a believer of selfies until you really have to have proof that you've traveled. A lot of people have asked me, how did you do it? How did I travel? The trick there is finding a job that would allow you to be based in the area, so you can travel in the weekend. So if you are a freelance worker, I think you would have a greater opportunity of doing that. You could always, when I was working for a microfinance foundation, I was based in Iloilo, and those 4 years that I worked for that microfinance allowed me to travel to all of the towns of Bohol, all the towns of the Panay Island group, all the towns of Cebu, half of Leyte, or most of Leyte. In 2013, I worked as a consultant for UNICEF after the post-Haiyan, after Yolanda, and it allowed me to travel to many places in eastern Visayas, particularly those places which were hit by Typhoon Haiyan. I had this idea, when I was looking for a job, I would look for consultancies that would help me be based in one area. So there was one consultancy, I was based in Mindanao. I took the opportunity to travel. So if you're wise enough, if you're good enough, you might end up in a job based elsewhere, and you take that opportunity, since you probably don't have work on a weekend, so you could take that opportunity to travel around. And is it expensive? A lot of people have been asking me, how much have you spent in traveling all the 1,634 towns and cities? And I refuse to answer that, and I will never answer that. But if you have a budget of 2,500 per day, theoretically, for 555 days or so, you can visit all of the towns and cities. But you do the math, 2,500 times 555 days, that's a lot of money. And that's a lot of money. But then if you look at a lot of people in my Facebook account are actually people I've met during my travel. A good 60 to 70% of the people in my Facebook, friends in my Facebook, are people I've met over the last 10 years of travel. Any recommendations? Just go where your feet and your wallet could allow you. Just don't be stuck in places that are the popular places. There are so many places in the Philippines that you could visit. It helps to have contacts in the area. A lot of people ask me, hindi ka ba natakot na pumunta sa ganitong lugar na wala kang kilala? My standard reply is, whenever I go to a place, especially if it's remote, a remote town, like places in Likwanbaay, or let's say Balbalasang, or towns such as Sadanga, or towns like Macalelon. I don't know if you know these places. It always helps to have someone from there. How do you find them? Well, there's the internet, and I'm lucky because in my job as a researcher, I get a lot of people. I take the opportunity, like if there are conferences or workshops that I attend, there are people who come from that particular town. I ask them, "Ma'am, bibisita ako sa inyo, ha?" "Sige, sir. Kailan?" You get contacts, and it's always I always take an opportunity, because there are so many towns in the Philippines, places that there's nothing online about them. Absolutely zero information. For example, in Mapun, Tawi-Tawi, it took me 3 years to find contacts to go to Mapun. And I finally went there in 2020, right before the pandemic, and we were welcomed along with a blogger based from Bigan. It took me 3 years. And then I told my friend, si Edmar, "Are you interested in going to Mapun?" And he said, "It's one of my dream places." So we waited for a week on a boat, for the boat in Puerto Princesa. And then we had to wait for a couple more days in one of those towns. And after a week of waiting, we finally made it to Mapun. And then there were no boats going out of Mapun, so we had to charter a plane going out. It was one of the most memorable experiences of Mapun. The Taganak Turtle Islands was also difficult to go to. There are no regular boats going there. I was lucky that I was invited by the Philippine Navy to join them. That was in July 2017. A friend of mine, who was then a captain of one of the Navy ships, "Di ba pangarap mong pumunta sa Turtle Islands?" "Yes, it's one of my dreams." "Tomorrow, I am heading there." "What? Tomorrow?" So without thinking, I bought a ticket, headed to Zamboanga, joined them the next day, and I eventually made it to the Turtle Islands, Taganak. From Manila, I flew to Zamboanga. Zamboanga, we headed to Panglimasugala. That was our first stop in the mainland of Tawi-Tawi, and then from Panglimasugala, we headed to Taganak Island, which was the main town of Turtle Islands. Really, really far off. There was no regular. There are certainly many other places that are remote and should be visited if you're interested. My 1,634 goal happened in 2013. For me, for a lot of people, it might be old news already. That happened, a year ago, more than a year ago, or almost 2 years ago. And I wasn't really after recognition. The 1,634 goal was something that I wanted to do for myself. I wasn't doing it for the shares or the likes, or I don't even have a vlog. A lot of people were asking, why don't you do a vlog of your travels? I never did that because it was a goal that I really wanted to do for myself, and no one has ever done that before. And when the call for recognition came, I tried, I submitted my entries and I made it as one of the 41 people. Of course, it's a great honor to be included in this list of 41 people who the Philippine travel masters, although I don't really consider myself as a travel master, but the distinction is most appreciated.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.